doing the recording for me today. Thanks to John, my fiance, for coming out. And John, show the people where we are. Oh, that looks good. Alright, so as you see, we are right on the banks of the Mississippi River, and you saw the Jefferson Expansion Arch right behind you. And what I'm standing in front of is the Meriwether Lewis and William Clark statue, right, for the Corps of Discovery. I don't know about the dog. I don't even know what the dog's name is. I love dogs. I just didn't know that. But yeah, so this monument actually stood down there, but after the river flooded, they had to go in and yank out the monument, and they brought it here to this place because they deemed it a little bit safer for the monument, so it would not be washed down the Mississippi. So what you're going to read this week in the PowerPoint is about our new nation, about Shays Rebellion, the Constitution, the Whiskey Rebellion, and some of our first presidents. So Washington, Adams, and then once Jefferson. Okay, so we got some partiers next to us playing country music to set the stage. Anyways, so we have Jefferson, Madison, Monroe. They're presidencies, which are known as Jefferson's heirs, because they're Virginians, they're Democratic Republicans. But the reason I bring you here is because this is where, when Jefferson purchased the area I'm standing in right now, he sent Army officers, Meriwether Lewis and William Clark, to St. Louis with a corps of about 30 other men to find a waterway to the Pacific Ocean, to beat Britain there, so they could get that area first, to see if this area would be important for settlement, not just of farming, but especially for the expansion of slavery, which we will see by 1820 when Missouri becomes a state. It will come in as a slave state. And then also to see the native peoples out here and wonder if they would be peaceful or what they would do for the in terms of knowing that this is U.S. territory. And so I wanted to bring you to this statue specifically because we see these two men, right? And they're kind of headed westward. We see Jefferson's Arch, and they are the two men who are responsible for leading this expedition. But what we don't see anywhere around here is any mention of Sacagawea. And if it wasn't for 15-year-old Sacagawea, these men would most likely have not had a successful journey. And why? Because when they went to the Mandan, when they met up in a Mandan village, they found a 15-year-old girl, or two 15-year-old girls, Otter Woman and Sacagawea, who could speak French, English, Hidatsa, and Shoshone. And the question is, how was this 15-year-old girl, Sacagawea, how did she know all these languages? Well, she was a Shoshone woman, and when she was 10 years old, she was kidnapped by the Hidatsa people. After she was kidnapped, she was actually purchased by a French fur trapper named Toussaint Charbonneau. And Toussaint Charbonneau was a single French male. He was trying to make money, but he also didn't have any women that he could be with. So he purchased Otter Woman and Sacagawea as his concubines, or his sex slaves. And when Lewis and Clark meet Sacagawea for the first time, she had just given birth to a son who was named Jean-Baptiste. And so the reason that they chose Sacagawea to go with them was not only could she translate the language, but they thought, if we have a woman and a child go with us who is native, when we go to these native tribes, because we brought women and children, they'll see us as coming as peaceful. So not only did they need Sacagawea to translate, but they needed her as a sign of peace. And then also, she found them food to eat. She led the way. And she also was able to, the boat that they were in tipped over. And when it tipped over, there were all of these instruments in the water. Charbonneau almost drowned himself. He didn't know how to swim. And so she swam through the water, saved their books, saved their tools, saved their guns, saved their instruments, and literally kept the passage kind of moving forward. And so Sacagawea, we all know, kind of like helped them, but we don't really know why. Why was this? We always see her as like this older, wiser woman. She was only a teenager. She knew how to speak these languages because she was purchased as a concubine, and she helps the Corps of Discovery make it to the West Coast and then back by 1805, and unfortunately she'll die in 1812 of disease. So Sacagawea's story is very brief. It's very, I guess you could say, hidden, because not all the facts about her age and why she spoke European languages was spoke about, because it's a product of, like you'll see with Sally Hemings, of a woman of color who is raped and then, kind of pushed and forced into this kind of, I guess you could say, journey in order to protect her son, because she knew, my son is a baby, an infant. I need to do what's possible so I'm not separated from my child. And so what happens here, we see in this kind of image of two white men, right, who are masculine, they're huge, they're setting sail, they're setting out on this passage, but what we don't see in the statue is that a woman of color, a Native woman specifically, helped them, right? So that's why it's important in our class to tell the whole history, not just what we see in the statue, or not just what we've heard about the Corps of Discovery, but also what else kind of transpired and who helped along the way. And so the last kind of part of this all is when Sacagawea she passes away in 1812, but her son will live on in St. Louis. Jean-Baptiste will be educated here in St. Louis, and William Clark lives here and kind of has his slaves raise Jean-Baptiste, but Jean-Baptiste will actually be educated, and he will live on, kind of living between two worlds, a Native and an American world. So even though Sacagawea's time is very brief, her legacy lives on in U.S. history. So that's why I wanted you to come here. And again, if you're ever in the St. Louis area, totally come stop by the statue, come see the Jefferson Arch, and then also the museum under the arch has amazing interpretation of all of this. Sacagawea, kind of the Mississippi River history, and how St. Louis was the gateway not just to the Louisiana Purchase, but for the entire country. So for all my peeps on the West Coast, your, I guess you can say, geographical history kind of begins here in St. Louis. So thanks for tuning in with me this week. Thanks to John for videoing me so I could have a little room to talk with my hands, because I'm a hands talker. And I will see you next week for week 5 history. And also you'll be watching this kind of during the 4th of July week, so happy 4th. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this, and I can't wait to hear what you think about Sacagawea and Sally Hemings in the discussion boards. So I will see y'all soon. Have a great week. Thanks, guys. Bye.